Because I feel like the trauma that we've experienced and we consistently experience in this country, we don't think about I'm safe. We think about, am I seen? Am I going to get fed? You see what I'm saying? Am I going to be equal to this other mainstream way of living? We're not thinking about the basics of I'm safe.
We stop short of that. Like, what tools should Black men who aren't in therapy should start asking themselves to say, well, is this really who I am?
But vulnerability for still many men is, oh, you want me to be more like a woman? No, I do not. I'm not expecting you to switch gender behaviors. What I'm simply saying as a human being, tell me how you feel.
Welcome to Beauty and the Beast, where we create a safe haven for Black men to engage in deep conversations and share their journeys in a judgment-free space.
In each episode, we dive into topics that matter, from identity and relationships to personal growth and resilience. This is a space where your story is valued, your voice is heard, and your journey is shared with others who, like you, may feel alone in the world. Through heartfelt storytelling and insightful dialogue, the podcast aims to dismantle stigma and foster a deeper understanding of the emotional landscapes navigated by Black men, ultimately highlighting the beauty that emerges from their journeys. Let's break the myth that Black men are beasts. I'm Malik Baraka, leadership coach, skills trainer, workshop facilitator, and a man of the culture.
My name is Kyle Gall, University of Miami Hurricane, corporate leader, advocate for mental health, and movie producer. Welcome to Beauty and the Beast. Let's start the conversation. So, Dr. Tori, thank you for being here, first of all.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here today, being on the Beauty and the Beast podcast. Really appreciate that. So this is going to be a little bit different, right, than all the episodes we've had up to this point, because one, this is the first time we have a woman on, but two, you're a licensed therapist, right? And so we want to invite you into this space to help us unpack some of the themes that we have discussed in some cases with our guests, and in some cases we haven't. They kind of were left on the floor or just in an off comment. And so we want to have a dialogue about some of these themes that we've seen and to interject your professional opinion on these, but from the lens of what you've seen and how you've helped Black men to navigate what it really means to be a man, a Black man in this world, but helping us to normalize the emotional quotient that is being a Black man, because it can be a heavy burden, as you probably hear all the time. And so that's really where we want to start the conversation. And so, like I said, we've got some themes, but what I do want to also say is it's interesting how what we all have in common sitting on this couch, right, is, you know, my wife, and she knows you, right? And I feel like I know you just for virtue of that relationship. And then you and Malik, I don't want to interject, but how do you know Dr. Tori?
I know Dr. Tori because she was my therapist for a number of years and is now my on-call therapist and has helped guide me to such a beautiful place of gratitude in my life. So I am extremely thankful for you, and also want us to hold space for you to make sure you introduce yourself in the way that you want to our audience.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy these types of conversations, particularly now with where we are in the cultural climate and the political climate. I feel like we definitely need to have more conversations about Black men. So thank you for having me on this platform. I'm Dr. Tori. I'm a native of Atlanta. I've done all my education here. Both sides of my family are here, so I'm a true Atlanta native.
Georgia Peach.
Yes. I work in the Vinings area. Used to work in Buckhead. Now I've relocated to the Vinings area. And my practice is mainly working with mood disorder, relationship issues, and then I do executive coaching, and I also do what's called financial therapy. So I've been practicing now almost 20 years.
Nice. Well, and I thank you for the work you've done with my wife.
Thank you.
It has helped us immensely.
Thank you.
So thank you for that.
Love to hear it.
All right. So, like I said, we've spent this past season talking to men from all walks of life, right? A lot of them are captains of industry. Some of them are entrepreneurs. And it's been interesting how, in a lot of ways, there's been some overarching themes, like I alluded to before. So let's start with one of the themes, community, right?
Mhm.
That's one of the things that we've consistently seen permeate throughout our discussions and conversations with men, especially as it relates to, one of the things we heard a lot about was either their fathers having real significant impact on them young as well as older, or those who didn't have the father figure in their life, they found men who could help channel that void, because someone, I guess, has used that term, that void. And so I just want to get your opinion on that in terms of how do Black men navigate life as it relates to that? Because there's two aspects of that. There's positive influences, right?
Right.
And then there are negative influences, both for people who have their father in their life and who don't. So I just would love to hear your opinion on what's the impact that has as it relates to a man, well, a boy, trying to
Mhm.
mature into a man.
Oh, it's profoundly huge.
Mhm.
Okay. I have a pretty nice amount of African American male clients, and fortunately, most of them have gotten the messaging to do the work. Okay. Most of my clients are not, none of my clients are court mandated. Okay. Let me say it that way. So
Mhm.
these are men that are looking to evolve, to elevate. But I will say that in my work, what I have noticed for men and for women is that the father's presence is so profound and so needed and so necessary when you start talking about self-concept, your identity, your value system, how you want to engage in all relationships. I'm very blessed to have an excellent father in my life. And so I can immediately see when I'm working with a client when that's missing.
Mm.
The presence of a father is, and I think especially in our community, because that level of order and respect, when they're not in place, it is very visible, right? I remember growing up as a young girl. My father has a very deep baritone voice. He actually used to sing a little bit, and
Okay.
so I would wake up in the mornings and I could hear my father in the room with my mom talking, and it made me feel safe. There was an automatic, daddy's in the house, I'm safe, right? I don't think our men really understand the profound necessity of just feeling safe and that they provide that, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. I- so I'm gonna let you answer the question. But what's interesting is, wow, that is not a theme that we came across or decided to talk about.
Yeah.
But we did have some conversations about safety.
Several conversations about safety and on safety on both ends of that spectrum, the safety of them feeling safe to be themselves, them being the purveyors of safety, and just the emotional charge that comes with both of those hats to be worn, to be both protectors of themselves
Mhm.
and protectors of others.
That you said that, and that just led me to another question, right? And so, as men, one of the things that I remember growing up that was reinforced both in the home as well as outside of the home is us being providers, right?
Mhm.
We're providers first. That's it.
Mhm.
And you just made a comment when you said safety of self and safety of others. But I think that's another thing that's come up is a lot of times men deprioritize themselves
Mhm.
and don't focus on safety of self and only focus on the safety of others
Mhm.
to just sometimes their own detriment.
Absolutely.
Do you think that that's true?
I do. But again, when you talk about modeling, that happens when they have a father that is always talking about provision. Like we're tape recorders. So the words, just like the words that I use immediately shifted how you all perceive what we were going to talk about or where it was going to go, right?
Yeah.
Well, if your father's coming in the house always saying, I got to provide, I can't do this because I have to do this for you all, then the child is going to receive, daddy doesn't think about daddy, daddy thinks about taking care of everybody. And so that does become thematic. That becomes something that we inherently absorb, right? But from a psychological perspective, when you look at how we evolve and how we emotionally grow, stability is that foundational layer of the pyramid of evolution, psychologically, right? Safety, shelter, food, clothing, da da da.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the trauma that we've experienced and we consistently experience in this country, we don't think about, I'm safe. We think about, am I seen? Am I going to get fed? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Am I
yeah,
going to
yeah.
be equal to this other mainstream way of living? We're not thinking about the basics of, I'm safe.
You just hit me with something because it took me to my own household in terms of what that means, like what that means to provide safety for others and not thinking about my own personal safety. Like I don't think, like I play a scenario in my head repeatedly, like what happens if somebody comes to the door?
Yep.
Yeah.
Which actually happened to us once. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, it kicked in our door, but that's a whole other story. I don't think I ever have concerned myself with my own personal safety. Like I think I've said, I'm willing to take a bullet if I have to.
Yeah.
Right? That's just how we're built and wired. So I don't. How do you, when you're working with people, how do you get them to consider their own safety?
Well, first and foremost, I love to do, like when I first start with clients, I do kind of like a genogram, kind of like a cheat sheet of a genogram. I find out about their history at home first. So I found out about their mom, their dad, who was in the home, who wasn't in the home. And then I start to understand how they see themselves inside of a relationship, right? Usually through that work, that's when I start to understand, oh, this person is afraid of this or this person is afraid of that. My goal usually is to first find out the 3 things that the client wants to work on, and then I will interject. But what I find with the thing about safety is usually caught up in the insecurities of self anyway, right? So when a person comes into a room and they don't think they're going to be seen, that's a form of safety. You don't see me. So how do I show up? How do I connect with you when you don't really see me? Right?
You're gonna make me cry over here, but keep going. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
All
So
right.
so when we're talking about where you fit into your life and where you connect, I can tell through conversations and I can tell by what you like, what you don't like, words you use, whether or not, and most people, and I know I've said this many times, it's a God-given gift. Most people feel safe when they're sitting with me. They just immediately start to emote and talk. That's because I let you know I'm okay with my emotions, right? So since I'm okay with my emotions, I can hold space for yours, right? So then people start to unveil. Yeah.
So it's funny. I'm gonna tell you something. That I don't even know if I shared with Nicole. I was jealous of her when she was seeing you.
Oh.
Because I was just like, I want her for my therapist.
Oh.
I was like, can I? Because I was like, the work that you were doing, I was impressed by it. So that's besides the point. That's not what the topic is. But
Yeah.
I'll let you.
I mean,
go.
but to that point, right? To play on that idea of safety and feeling seen and its connection to it, like growing up in an environment where safety was a very loose concept.
Yeah.
Like I was used to. I'm not going to say I was used to not feeling safe, but my definition of safety for myself was very different than the safety that I wanted to provide for my wife and kids.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel to me at the time as if I was neglecting them.
Yeah.
Neglecting me, excuse me.
Right.
It felt like, oh yeah, I'm built for this. Like they don't come from where I come from. They ain't been in gunshots.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying? Like
mhm.
that's not their reality. So I have to shield them from all of that. And what I will add to that is the idea of feeling jealous. I completely understand, like based upon the things that you heard, because I can say that sitting in that space I don't know if I've ever felt like I could bear as much of myself and my insecurities as I could with her
Mm,
because of the space that she cultivated, because I had been conditioned so much to not show weakness.
right.
And
Same.
this was a place where I could completely take off my armor.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, because I want to continue on that theme. When we talk about armor, right?
Mhm.
We've heard there's another theme we've heard, masking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you talk about for a few minutes the toll that it takes on a black man to have to wear a mask every day when he enters the corporate American halls?
Well, in my opinion, and to be honest, I think the mask is the only thing most black men even know. Okay. Um, we are taught two languages, all right? We're taught how you speak and act at home and how you speak and act in the street, right? And so black men are taught very early on, and not purposefully, you can't do that, you can't do this, right? So they know, you all know walking into a room what's expected based off of stories you've heard about the deadbeats, the non-working,
Mm,
the unemployed. You all
mm-hmm.
have all
Yeah.
of these examples of what a no good black man is. And it is always, always projected to you all, right? So when you all walk out with the mask on, that's what you have learned is acceptable. So it's not until you do the work, or it's not until you enter a relationship with someone that sees it, a woman mainly, that says, you don't have to do that with me, let it off.
Mm,
Take it down, right? But most men, I find, and I have 5 brothers, my father, my current husband, my ex-husband. I have looked at enough black men to see that there is this coat armor that you all put on to say, this is what's going to be accepted. This is what's going to be threatening.
Mhm.
This is what's going to be accepted.
yeah.
So I feel like the majority of you all's interactions is masked.
You, you know what I find interesting about that, because I thought you were going to add one more thing. You talked
Mhm.
about a woman,
Mhm.
but I think for me, my personal experience is it took a nervous breakdown. That's what it took to understand for me
Mhm.
that wearing that mask every day wasn't who I was.
Yeah.
And it took so what's funny about that, right, is we've had another guest on and we're having this conversation about authenticity.
Yeah.
And he's like, what I like about Kyle, he's very authentic and he just shows up high. And I had to tell him, I said, slow down, time out. Who you see here today is not who I was 10 years ago. Like, I did not know what my authentic self was. And so I say all that to say is, how do we prevent that kind of thing? How do we, what are the, I don't know, how do I want to ask this question? It's not about saying what signs out there, but what tools can you help espouse for a black man to understand the mask isn't always what you need to do, and it may not be who you are. Because, right, one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast, and I'm personally doing this podcast, is I want to help as many black men as possible not have the nervous breakdown.
I love
So
that.
how do we stop short of that? Like, what tools should black men who aren't in therapy should start asking themselves to say, well, is this really who I am?
Well, first and foremost, if we're talking about a young black boy, I would suggest allowing him to have a voice in the home. to let him speak his mind, to let him show you his likes, his dislikes, to allow him to feel childhood. Like I mean, even our oldest kids, a lot of times we expect them to help out with the other kids. So we kind of snatch their childhood from them. But with boys, especially if they have other siblings, you got to take care of your sister. You got to take care of mom when I'm not here. Those things, don't get me wrong, I think they instill good messages, but we need balance, right? We need balance. And as far as a Black man is concerned in saying, hey, you don't need to do that, is being able to share with him first, I want to know what's really going on with you. Like to not condemn, but to simply ask, like, what do you think about this and why? What does this mean for you? And to let them know you can be vulnerable. Like that word, I feel like there's a lot of psychological words that are used a lot, but vulnerability for still many men is, oh, you want me to be more like a woman? No. I'm not expecting you to switch gender behaviors. What I'm simply saying as a human being, tell me how you feel, right? As a human being, tell me you're angry. I had a conversation with a client the other day, and he's a young man, he's about 30, and he's struggling with being angry. And I said, what's wrong with anger? He goes, well, my parents said, I said, your parents made you conform to a certain way to manage the house.
Amen.
But anger is just as important as happiness. It's just telling you what's going on. It's sharing with you, okay, I didn't like this, or this person offended me.
Signal.
It's a signal. That's all it is. But because let's be fair to Black effective parenting, we want to keep our boys from safe. We go back to safety. I want you safe. So I know if I tell you at home, you can't do this, then I know when you're in the street and that cop pulls you over, you won't do it. But we still need conversation. We need to be able to have more detailed conversation about our emotions so that we understand why mom and dad is saying this. Mom and dad is not saying I'm bad because I'm angry. They're saying the way that you facilitate your anger can kill you outside in the street. And we need to be just that simple when we're conveying that to our children.
Man, you need to ask this next question before I start over here like.
No, I mean, this is the dialogue, right? Like these are the things that I think our culture have been deprived of because they existed once upon a time, but they have been replaced with destruction and deceit and wickedness and coveting and so many of these things that suck the life force out of us, right? And so, one, that's kind of what we're hoping to combat, right? In part by our end of working with, and interviewing, having conversations with rather Black men, so that people understand what different facets of love look like, what different facets of success look like, what different facets of self-care looks like. These things are readily important to us, right? Like it's kind of the genesis for it. And I'm curious to hear like what your take on that idea is.
Recalibrate that a little bit for me.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, like, when we think about the things that obviously the people that you deal with, the clients that you deal with, the issues that they wrestle with, how much of those ideas of the things that are missing from our community come up in those conversations, and what can people do? This is what we're doing.
Right.
What can people do to help restore themselves in the parts of their community that they touch?
First of all, we got to reconnect to community.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like there have been many times in history where Black men have not only gotten it right, they've been perfect, right? But the community and the world went in and said, oh, no, they're getting to evolve. Let's take them back, right? So we have this perpetual thing going on where Black people just keep adapting and adapting to the trauma that is ongoing in this country. And that makes us have to regroup and reparent and rethink and reconnect to our community. Because when you're consistently trying to assimilate
Yeah.
so you can eat, what you're saying is, I'm going to turn my back on what I need
Ooh,
from my
she just
community.
hit on the thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're constantly saying, this is the light, this is the darkness, right?
Yeah.
But we got to understand, no. The answers are in the darkness. The answers are in the places where we've hidden, been coveted, lied, all the bad stuff that we kind of, let's get away from that because that's just too Black.
Yeah.
That's too non-mainstream. Well, that's where the answers are. Because if we can commit to community, if we can say what you brothers are doing right now, saying, I want to help, think about if we all had that mentality, right? That I want to use my skill set, my talents, my passions to infuse a better community, then we're not going to have some of this other stuff that we got going.
So you hit on two other things that are part of the community conversation. It's one, the notion that we can't go back home again.
Yeah.
And the other is that we always want to see Black men succeed. But the minute they do, in a lot of instances, we tear them down.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get your opinion on those two things.
So the thing about we can never go home, so I hope I don't get emotional on this one. This whole thing about where the country is right now and how we're treated and how we can move to Ghana, we can go this place and that place, right? It's true. We can go anywhere at this point. Like, we're a global, world.
Right.
But if we don't get rid of the stuff that makes us disconnect from home, see, home is first connecting with self, right? So when you're not connected with yourself, you're not going to connect wherever you are, okay? And if you don't see the importance of self, there was a post that came out on IG and I just loved it. It was a Black woman talking about Black people in this country. We are 40, how many million? Yeah, it's 42 million Black people in this country, which is more than the residents in California and Texas. We are our own nation inside of a nation, right? But they have taught us how to move away and not move together, right? Home is community. So you say you can't go back home. No, our community needs to be intact. Then we can rove and do whatever. So she was saying, this whole thing, this whole concept of the diaspora and moving here and moving there and doing this and doing that, it's an idea. Yeah. But if all the Black people in this country decided, you know what? I am going to take care of me, my home, my community, and put back in, we would be in a different headspace, completely different headspace. And hopefully that's what we're looking at. Hopefully that's what's about to happen. The other question you asked, which I'm about to forget, was...
It's about tearing people down once they've achieved a level of success.
So the crabs in the barrel situation, yes. Right? Yeah. So even in our own community, the minute we see somebody stepping into the light, so to speak, well, what about this? What about that? That's fear, right? That is immersed in fear, and that's insecurity, jealousy, envy, all of that. That's just fear. So what are you afraid of? You're afraid that this person will make it and not reach back? You're afraid this person will make it, and because they make it and it looks a certain way, it means that what you're doing isn't sufficient or good enough? Like, how is it your ascension automatically means that I'm descending? It doesn't. It means that your ascension should inspire me to ascend.
Right.
Like, as I see you get up there, I know, oh, it's possible for me too, right? But all of that is entrenched in community, because if community was really authentic and real, we would want to see everybody eat.
What I find interesting about that is you're hearing people use this term more, that Black people are not a monolith.
Yes.
And this is another theme that came up. But the minute you don't conform to what they define as being Black is, now you're not Black.
Right.
Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying the self-hating Black folks are the ones I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm just talking about those who, one of our guests, Michael Quigley, who you have not had the pleasure to meet. He talked about, well, one, he was a military brat, right? So he was all over the world. He's been to Germany, Japan, whatever. So he's going to have a very different view
yes.
than people who grew up where we grew up.
Yes.
But we still got the same otherism as him because we spoke proper.
Yes.
And I'm like, well,
That's how I was raised.
that's how I was raised. I was raised to be that way. But again, so it's back to the whole monolith. I'm like, you subscribe to the fact that we're all different people, and you being a general term. You subscribe that we're all different and we all act differently. We're not all the same. But the minute we step into that light, it's like now, like, well, you ain't us.
Yeah.
Like,
And again, that goes to the hating, the lack of self-love, the lack of. So if you're constantly trying to assimilate to something, our freedom is so much more regulated than another American's freedom, right? So we get to have these small little snippets of what success is and what making it is. And so the rest of the folks look at that, they judge themselves by that, right? But they also start to say, well, I got to be a little bit more like this so that I can invite this to make more money. So it's all still, like I said, about eating. Let's look at Tiger Woods, okay? Tiger Woods is biracial, right? One of my first questions when he first hit big, and people were like, well, he needs to admit he's Black. Why? He has an Eastern mother. Like maybe he was raised more in that community. Don't get me wrong. It would be great if he wanted to say he was Black, right? Or if he identified with that. But our identity is representative of our experiences and our modeling.
oh, amen.
So if our modeling says you can be anything, let's just say hypothetically, Tiger Woods' father was a man that was like, I don't want you acting too Black because you can't go as far in golf if you do. So how much of Tiger Woods' identification is based on his experiences or his father's? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we don't think about how we present and what we own, then we start to model that to our children in our communities. And now we have a different slant version of who we really are and what we believe. Blackness should not just be contingent to our language and our skin color or how we wear our hair or, Blackness is spiritual.
Wow.
It's a spiritual
Can
experience.
you speak into the camera and repeat?
Blackness is a spiritual experience. There are no other people on the globe that have experienced what we've experienced collectively in this country. So to try to put a stamp on it based on my hair is this or my skin is this, it's another form of bondage. It is. We are imprisoning our own self.
1000%. And it connects me to something that you said earlier in the conversation as well, that I'd love for you to unpack a little more. And I could be editorializing, but I believe I heard you say, collectively, we're not evolving, we're just readjusting to trauma. Say more about that.
The traumas never stop.
Yeah.
Right? So if we had gone through slavery, we're freed, and we're allowed to go live our life, that trauma would have ended there. And we would have outlived it. We would have outlived the trauma.
Yeah.
We're living the trauma every day.
Yeah.
And that's just, the minute Trump comes out and starts throwing the threats, Black people start saying, oh, they're going to try to take the 14th Amendment. They're going to try to do this. They're going to try to do that. Because we are so intricately in our DNA connected to what happened to us off that boat.
Right.
Because it never stopped. Zoning laws, educational barriers, healthcare, prison reform, all of that still exists, which makes us continuously fear I could go backwards. I'm not going to be allowed to go forward. And if I go forward, Tulsa, for a little while, they're going to be so pissed off. They're going to set me back 50 years. And that's how we, so being from Atlanta, my grandfather worked for MARTA. This is on my dad's side. My grandfather worked for MARTA. My grandmother was a hairdresser, and before she started her own hair salon, she was a cook. She was a domestic cook. White folks. She couldn't drive her car that she had to their house. She had to drive the dilapidated, beat-up car. Because if she drove the car that my parents, my family, my father, and them went to church in, you can't let white folks know what you got, right? That's just a generation away from me.
Yeah.
Well, 2 generations, right? So, hearing my parents talk about, oh, we were segregated in Atlanta, but we loved it, right? Because the community was so flourishing. We had everything that we needed, right? But we knew we had to push through this, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to send you all to the schools we want to send you all to. And so there's always this conversation going on in the Black home of, we've gotten this far, but that's trauma.
Yeah.
We're not free to just go do what we want to do, like some of the other minorities, even, especially white folks, but like the way Asians and some other, cultures in this country can be accepted a little bit easier.
Not even just free to go do like they do. We're not free to just be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That went some places I didn't expect it to go, but that's great. That's the point of this podcast. So switching subjects a little bit.
Sure.
Self-discovery, right? A lot of, I'm assuming, the work that you do.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the impact of carrying the expectations of others on your shoulders. What do you see when you're dealing with Black men as it relates to that?
So it's funny. The last conversation that I overheard you guys having about Gen X, and how we have had so much advancement. I remember hearing growing up, you got to be a doctor, you got to be a lawyer, one or the other. Yeah. My brother, who happens to be 6'6" and extremely intelligent, played a little bit of basketball, but ended up going to Georgia Tech and ended up going to Emory and is a lawyer here in Atlanta. But growing up, we would go places, and the first thing that was said was, "You play ball? Boy, I know you play ball." That's always that thing, that doorway out. And so that expectation comes from a place of evolution and, evolving, but also it comes from a place of, again, expectation from trauma. They're not going to let you come through that door this way. So you got to go this way. And so watching Black men try to be anything other than what they truly desire to be, because I got to pay homage to my dad. My dad put me through school, so I better go do what he wanted me to do. Or my father's been a pastor for 30 years in this community. He wants me to take over his church. It is stunning and killing at this point our ability to truly expand as a community, right? Because there are other areas that we are needed to be in that many of us are fearful to go into because of a family business, an economic situation. Oh, my parents spent this much money sending me to this university. There's no way I can tell them I want to go dance for Ivan Ailey and I got a law degree. That type of thing. But there are so many areas that we could be just really killing it. And because of that expectation and that fear and that necessity to carry everybody with us, it smothers a lot of dreams.
Yeah, that brought up for me something that I carried for a long time, which is the expectation for me was that I was going to do something academic, something that would require a lot of schooling, and I would be proficient in the world in some type of career of that sort because of what I demonstrated early as a kid. What then got neglected was my athletic abilities, because, like, no, you're the smart kid,
right?
Like, do this. This is what you should be doing. But my inner child is like, but I want to play football, right. But when I did the things that were academically inclined, if I'm in the spelling bee, or if I'm in, this mock trial competition, or, whatever it is, like, I got full support, I got attendance. Mm-hmm. Nobody's coming to my football games. Nobody's coming to my track meet, right? Like, oh shit, I must not be good.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I must not be good. I must be fooling myself.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And so that potential went untapped because I didn't have the confidence there that I had in the classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I feel like, well, I know, because I'm very spiritual. I believe that our talents and our gifts are for our purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so when we put this expectation on our children that is outside of the things that they are naturally gifted at, in my opinion, I feel like you are impeding on their purpose. Now, don't get me wrong. You can go to school and get your degrees and still go do some of the things. I mean, my daughter's now into acting,
Yeah.
but I was like, you're going to go to Agnes Scott and get your 4 years, right? And I want you to have balance.
Sure.
Then you go out there and do what you want to do. And you make sure whatever you do, babe, you can eat. Right?
Right. That part.
And I
Use your
think
term.
I think that's part of it. It's part of our parents loving us. But also I do think that we don't, again, get enough balanced messaging in the things you love, do them. Just figure out how you're going to do them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's enough time and room in our life to incorporate it all.
What came from me as you were describing that, Dr. T, was my experience, and I feel like a lot of people's experience with how they were reared is you're reared to survive, not thrive.
Oh,
Yes.
good man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we've just spent a good bit of time talking about managing others' expectations in our lives, especially our parents and others. Love to hear your experience around that. Interact with us on our socials at Instagram at Beauty and the Beast 2025.
Now he landed on his feet.
Let me jump in because
Sure.
ordinarily we would have stopped, right? And I think the video's still going. So I want to just keep this conversation
Sure.
going rather than say we were talking about this, talking
Yeah.
about that. So just keep going with what you were saying. And
No, I was just simply, sharing that when we talk about, and we were talking about playing the game versus rejecting the game and whatnot, corporate America, like watching my father work for one at the time, one of the biggest, like I guess you can call it your tech companies, IBM,
Right.
25 years. And now he's in his 40s, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, appreciate you. We're paying you too much money. Gotta let you go,
Yeah.
right? Throw him a party. See you later, right? Buyout. Then my mom, my dad worked for the company 25 years. My mom worked for the company 15 years.
Right.
My mom was never as rooted and booted in and connected to IBM the way my father was. So here we go again, identity.
Yeah.
A lot of times Black men are equated to what they do, right?
Yes.
Your identity is so greatly connected to what you do, how well you can provide, all of those things. And so I think what I was saying is teaching our kids, how do you want to play the game? If you're going to go into corporate,
Yes.
what's your end game?
Yes.
How are you going to use this to effectively transition you into your ultimate purpose or your ultimate goals?
Yes.
And where we started this conversation for the audience was Malik and I have difference of opinion as it relates to the language around game, the game theory, if you will. I shy away from using game, right? And especially with my kids as it relates to what they're going to do with their life, because I feel like for more seasoned individuals, when you use that terminology, I think it makes sense, right? Because they understand what you're talking about. But I think when you're younger, especially early career, you start using terms like you got to learn how to play the game. I think there's a connotation that comes with that I think can be dangerous for youth. So that's why I'm very careful when it comes to my own children. I don't use that terminology.
Right.
I purposely have just kept that out of any language I have with them because I don't want them to feel like that one, life's a game, and two, that all I need to do is learn the rules and I'll be successful. And you're talking about where your father, your mother, my father, they played by those rules.
Yes.
And when they did,
Yeah.
they got thrown by the wayside.
Yes.
Right? And so that's where, for me, I don't like that terminology of game and game theory. Again, I understand it, I get
Yes.
it, but I just
Yes.
feel like if used incorrectly, and I think the filters we have when we're younger, to use your terminology,
Mm-hmm.
are different than the filters we have when we're older. And so when I hear
Right.
someone throw game, and I'll give you a specific example, right? And one of our guests brought him up. There's an individual by the name of Harvey Coleman, and he wrote a book, and I cannot remember the title. I have the book and I've read it a couple times. He talks about the pyramid, right? And he has this illustration in the book, and it's all about the rules of corporate America. And he talks about the different levels that there are in life. And in order for you to make it to the next level, you have to be pulled up,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that had a profound impact on me. First, it was a very visceral response that I had,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, he in some of it was like, I don't remember. You get to level 7, level 8 was like the Rockefellers of the world and whatever have you. But at each level, there were things that you did and you didn't do.
Mm.
And one, somebody had to be comfortable enough to pull you up into that level. Second, some of the things you didn't do were you didn't listen to hip hop. You only listened to classical music. You went to the ballet. You did all these things. And for me, and this is when I made the decision, I was just like, it took me some time. We talked about my nervous breakdown. It took me getting to a place where I had to say to myself, I am none of those things.
Mm.
And that just left an impression on me where it's just like, nope, I'm not using game, because it just,
Gotcha.
right, it gave me that negative connotation.
Right.
And again,
Yeah.
I get why we use that terminology,
Right.
but I'm just giving you why it's
Yes.
such a
Makes
visceral
sense.
response for me
Mm-hmm.
as it relates to game theory, and why I'm very deliberate when it comes to my kids and be like, nope, we're not talking about a game. I just want you to be authentic.
Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
please.
Because I hear a lot in both of you all's like dialogue about corporate. I don't think I've ever asked this question to any
Ooh.
of my
Oh,
clients.
we feel
Yes.
special.
Yes.
Yeah.
How painful has corporate been for you?
Oh, oh Lord. Uh,
Like,
there
how
were
would you describe it?
trying not to get emotional over here. But I will tell you that there have been some painful, painful days. I've had some great successes. I've made it to the executive ranks. But there've been some soul searching that I had to do, and they were not easy to do. Right? And what's interesting is getting past that and looking back, I realized how painful it was, but I didn't realize what was happening at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There have been some days when I thought my manhood was being challenged.
Wow.
Right? I won't get into the specifics of it. There's still people who might listen to this who are part of that whole interaction. But I had to make the decision that I needed to leave. So I don't know. That's for me.
For me, it was excruciatingly helpful. There were the moments, as Kyle described, where it felt dark, it felt bleak, it felt punitive, it felt punishing.
Mm-hmm.
But also, met him in corporate, met you through corporate, met my wife through corporate, right? So it also provided me opportunities that were life changing. And I am so grateful to have survived that experience. And I don't feel like I thrived within it, but it is helping me thrive in the aftermath. And I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about the world. I've made so many wonderful connections that there is, even at the darkest times and the darkest moments that I experienced on the plantation, as I call it, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change that experience.
I can hear that, like, and not just my male clients, my female clients too, when they talk about, that boss that's on them, or the game, the rules constantly changing, or the rules just not even being meant for them.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I feel like hearing the both of you, it sounds like you meet or reach a point where you do feel like, am I going to compromise my soul? Am I going to give up my soul?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I would wholeheartedly agree, because it's just one of those places where here's what we've, so back to the themes, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I have observed, and I think you've observed it as well, is what I'm seeing is those who are successful, and I'm specifically talking about Black men,
Mm-hmm.
are extremely comfortable in their skin
Mm.
and know how to use the volume very, very well. Right. So for whether or not they'll make the cut, to give you the analogy of the volume control in the audience, I like to say that the volume control is something that you use as it relates to your personality. And there are different parts of your personality that you turn up and turn down.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find interesting about that, to go back to the we're not a monolith, or tear people down, I find that the people who are extremely good at using volume control when it comes to their personality get ostracized by the Black community.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and I think that through this conversation, I better understand. I better understand your connection and displeasure with the idea of the game,
Yeah.
right? But no matter what we name it, there is a thing, there is a system,
Yes.
right? There is a system that you can opt to plug into, and there are rules, there are laws, there are codes, spoken and unspoken, in that system, with which you need to learn to navigate with if you want to plug in and find your definition of success within that system, right? Now, within that goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about people being able to be Kugler, Jay-Z, to be themselves, and the opportunities come to you despite you chasing, or instead of you chasing the opportunities, and the bravery that takes.
Yes.
But also the understanding of self and the understanding of said system in order to navigate in that way. I'll bring that back also to what you were saying about what we want our kids to understand about it and take from it. Like, you're there, you play this or plug into this system. How are you going to plug in such a way that it serves you ultimately?
Yes.
What are you going to take away from that? Because you weren't born in this system, you won't die in this system. The system does not love you.
Yeah.
How are you going to use this to your advantage in order to advance yourself along in alignment with your purpose and chasing your dream?
Let me tie something into that too. So I had a gentleman I worked with for a pretty good amount of time, young brother, who had gotten his first break,
Yeah.
but did not have the modeling, right? So he didn't have a father in his life. He was raised by a mom that had a host of challenges and issues. And I never forget when we sat down and I asked him, what do you want?
Yeah.
And he couldn't tell me. He was about 32, 33 years old. And as we peeled back the layers of the onion, we realized everything he had was what he saw other Black men have.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. And so it's speaking about, plugging into the system. If you don't, again, have self-concept, if nobody tells you that true success is not looking like this person, it's feeling free
Yes.
to be who you are
Mm-hmm.
and make a living.
Yes.
Then we have all of these people, these young men out here, got the house, check.
Yep.
I can vacation twice a year.
That was
check.
me. That was me.
Got the woman that looks like what everybody says I'm supposed to check. Like it's that's what happens. And I think, again, the modeling, the mentorship, the having the exposure, so that these young people understand, like, we're living in a matrix. We're living in this very fake reality that says this.
Oh, dirty. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
This is what it's about, when really when you about to take your last breath, you're going to really start to have those conversations of, I always wanted to do this and I didn't do this,
Never
or
did.
I didn't treat this person very well trying to get to this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there's a couple of things that come up. Now I'm gonna use your term. It come up for me in
Good.
hearing what you just said. One is you brought up Ryan Coogler, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
What advice can you give a younger Black man?
Mm-hmm.
Just you talked about a client you had
Mm-hmm.
to help them get comfortable with who they are and be in the hallowed, and I'm being facetious,
Yeah.
hallowed halls of corporate America. Because I find it tends to take us a long time to get to that point.
Yes.
So how can we accelerate that? And you talked about modeling it for your children, but for men who didn't have that or don't have that, like what advice can you give them to really get comfortable with who they are so they don't feel like they are selling their soul when they get their break?
First of all, is to do some self-inventory as to what you like, what you're into. I try not to tell clients that don't read to read a lot, right? If people are into music, if people are into art, like go into those areas of your life where you're inspired and just sit in that. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you really start to want the data, the information, Superior Way of the Superior Way of the Man, the Way of the Superior Man by David Dita.
You
All
told me
right.
about that.
All right. Four Agreements. Like there's some basic books that you can get. The Invisible Ache by Courtney B. Vance, which I thought was fabulous just in helping Black men better understand their emotions, that it's okay to feel them, and specifically pertaining to grief. I'm really in awe of this new brother, Jason Wilson.
Yes.
I love him.
Mm-hmm.
If I may,
Yes.
I have to plug the game changer that you put me on, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents.
Yes.
My wife read that book too.
Yes. I think having an understanding that it doesn't matter how you got here. It matters what you do from this point forward.
Yes.
Okay, I'm here and I'm in corporate America and I'm immersed in this culture and a community I'm not used to. Okay, I get it. I got to adapt to that. But I first got to adapt to me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know what I like.
Yes.
I got to know what I enjoy. I got to know what gifts I bring. You know, a lot of my clients, especially in tech, because I've had a lot of clients work for Google, Pinterest, YouTube, Meta. They always talk about imposter syndrome, right? They always talk about being in that room and feel like I don't deserve to be here, or I don't want to be the token, right? But my thing is, if you don't know your attributes well, how can you sell it? If you don't know your attributes well, when people start to tell you that you're not good, you're going to believe it, right? So you got to have a sense of belief in yourself to the level of nobody can shake me on how I see me.
Yes.
Right? But you don't get to do that unless you do the investigation. What music, what art, what side of the country do
What
I
makes me
like?
happy?
Travel.
Yes. We're going to go there.
All of those things. It's like, how am I pouring into me so that I'm a better me? That's the thing. A lot of times in business, we're so worried about making more money, but not being a better person. Not being
We talked about that yesterday. We talked about that yesterday.
Say it again.
Yeah.
Say
Like
it
if
for
you
the people in the back.
if you invest in yourself,
Yeah.
of course it's going to spill important to all of these other relational situations and circumstances that you have.
So real quick,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if this ever came up in you all's conversation, but there was a pivotal moment for him that I learned later that it was a pivotal moment for him.
Mm-hmm.
We as men, Black men more specifically, don't spend enough time thinking about what makes us happy.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to what you said earlier about safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what we talked about, we always put ourselves last.
Yeah.
Can you say more? You kind of touched on that a little bit in terms of sitting with yourself, but I feel like, so I'll give you an example, right? For me, what used to make me happy growing up was watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
Loved watching TV,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that was seen as that's just a waste of time.
Right. Right.
That you just said, now you fast forward, I have a film company
Yeah.
with two other amazing brothers who've been guests on this podcast, and I realized me watching TV
Brought you here.
brought me here,
Yeah.
right? But I had to be uncomfortable in being like, you know what? No, I just like going to the movies. I'm going to go to the movies. That's just what I like to do.
Mhm.
So I say all that as a backdrop to say, can you opine
Yes.
on that? Because it feels like sometimes what makes us happy is counter to the expectations that have been placed on
True.
us.
So first and foremost, what I'm speaking mainly to is when I say pouring into yourself, knowing all the avenues of yourself, meaning if you're great with sports, you spend time in that. If you're great with encouraging people, you spend time with that. If you are being called spiritually, you spend time in that. That you listen to your likes and your dislikes. And it starts as simple as writing your list out. Like write down the things that make you tick and talk. Write down the things you don't like. It's like a lot of people don't know what they like, but they know what they don't like. So I'm
Yes.
like, okay, let's snuff that out. Let's figure that out first, right? Then when we have this list, let's engage in it. And let's engage in it in a way that is not about anybody else's opinion, anybody else's perspective or influence. It's something that you like. So I am a music head, right? I am an 80s teenage kid. So it was a plethora of different types of music. I listened to all of it. I didn't just stay with R&B and hip hop. I listened to David Bowie. I listened to Duran Duran. I listened to a myriad of genres because it fed me. It made me feel, do the things that make you feel the most like yourself.
Oof.
Okay?
I can see those words popping up on the screen now.
Come on.
Producers.
But
Producers.
let me add a caveat to that too. But have balance.
Yes.
Don't do it to the point that you're not aware of other things, that you're not connected to other things. Balance. And I think that's where we get in trouble. We focus so much on, I got to make the coin, the quan, the money, that we
The
focus
bag.
the bag. I gotta, rather than, but I need rest. And I need sometimes to sleep. And sometimes I need to just shut everything off and go to the other edge of the country so that I can feel myself, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time talking about the Black man, and that's what this is about.
Mhm.
However, I would love to get your opinion on what role a woman plays in the life of a Black man.
Ooh, it's loaded. It's very loaded. First of all, so I don't have any sons, but I will say this: Black mothers really, I hope, are understanding how important emotional intelligence is and teaching that to their sons. That is not going to make them less masculine. It's not going to make them not go out and do the things that they think boys are supposed to do. In fact, research shows the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more intelligent you are, right? That to be compassionate and empathetic means that you're connected to mankind and your community. How do we do that? Believe it or not, more lap time, more hugs, more kisses.
Wow.
The more affection. They have an actual study where they took a child and set it in the mother's lap and did an MRI and watched the lighting of the brain based on her saying simply, I love you, and her hugging him, kissing him, being affectionate. We are not affectionate enough in our community as people. I used to think, because I'm so extremely affectionate, that most Black women are. A lot of Black women are not, because they haven't been modeled it. They've had single moms that did not have a man in front of them to see the mother show that affection to the man. And then they also had a mother that maybe worked so much that when she came home, she was so tired and she didn't have enough time to say, come give me a hug, come give me some sugar. Like, so they see this hard veneer. It is okay to be soft. It is okay to be your man's peace. It is okay to be your man's rub on his back, kiss him on his head. It's okay to show that side of yourself. And I think because we have gotten to a place in our community where we're just trying to survive and we're just hard and everything is about the bling and the travel, that we've forgotten about the connection, right? So yeah, I want you to take me to Bali, or I want you to take me to, but do I really want to have a conversation? Do I want to lay up under you? Do I want you to feel the warmth of my femininity? We're losing that.
Oh man.
Yeah, we're losing that. That's the importance, I think, of a woman to a man.
I don't want this conversation to end. I really don't. You have to agree to come back at some point.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Um,
Yeah.
But I do want to close this the same way we do every episode. And there are two questions we ask our guests at the end.
Okay.
The first is, want to get your opinion on Black men being the beast in the world.
God, that's a loaded, heavy question. So the whole point of the enemy is to have a villain.
Oh,
Now, when you watch a movie, when you watch a film, the villain is brilliant. The villain's powerful. The villain is usually big in nature. That's Black men. But they have cultivated this beast image so that we don't know ourselves, right? All of us are human. All of us have beast characteristics. It's just being human. But I know what this world has done is made darkness, meaning color skin, darkness, meaning our experience, be the villain. And I think that Black men suffer it more greatly than any other demographic, right? And so I feel like if we could just educate our men enough to know that you are feared because you're so great. You are feared because you are so brilliant. You are feared because everybody wants to be like you. Yeah.
okay. Last question. What in this world makes you feel loved?
Oh God. For someone to appreciate my essence, the essence of me. I love connection. So when somebody calls me and says, "Hey, let's go have coffee," somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I was thinking about you and I wanted to get your take on this." Just inclusion and appreciation of my essence. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm very appreciative of you coming to this podcast and having a conversation with us.
Yes, we are.
My producers have hit me over here. So from the producer. So I do have one more question.
Okay.
And I didn't
Y'all
necessarily
got
mean
me-
to make you cry.
got me
Like
messing up my
didn't see that
makeup
one
and
coming.
everything. Oh my God.
It's the flow.
Yes.
It's the
So
love.
here's my final question. Can you help us as a podcast, as
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah.
As your parting words, can you help speak life into Black men?
Oh, now you're gonna make me cry even more. Okay. You all are the origin. Y'all are the center. Y'all are the center of everything that you step inside of. Family, community, business. When you all come into a room, you bring such gifts. You bring such light. You bring swag. You bring sex appeal. You bring knowledge. You bring power. Like, Black men are awesome. I'm just waiting for the day that you all can celebrate it, own it, and know it.
And with that, we're out.